Now, I want to semi-seriously discuss with you wristwatches, because you do, this was one of my favorite pieces in this book, not all of which I have read because, as I told Orson, I want to save,
You borrowed
savor
his
a
book.
few of them.
You borrowed his book, that's why he didn't get a chance to read it.
No. In fact, I don't think I'll let him have this one either, because there are these other treats I want to keep for myself. But you
It's the
discussed...
kind of a book you can leave on the toilet, you know, and just, pick it up and read a chapter.
Thank you.
Well, I meant that as a compliment.
That's how I wrote it.
Right. Where you wrote it?
That's how I wrote it, too.
How you wrote it?
A little bit at a time.
Yeah, right. But I mean, that's a wonderful place to have something to read. People will read anything in the can, won't they?
It is absolutely true.
You'll reread an ad for a sale from 2 weeks ago if that's all there is there. And if you had something really good there, life would be perfect.
Right. Back to the digital watches, if you don't mind. We're quite through with that subject, I'm sure. You and I share this dislike for digital watches.
Hatred.
Hatred it
Yes.
is.
Dislike is mild.
It is a genuine hatred you have.
Yes.
When did it occur to you that you didn't like these, and how?
As soon as they invented them.
Right off the top.
Right. The second they invented them. Mainly because it took me so long to learn how to tell time. I was about 15 when I finally really grasped the concept of telling time.
A slower learner, were you?
A very slow time learner.
Mm-hmm.
That I resented the fact that children now didn't have to learn how to tell time. That was my main objection to it. I also feel that it doesn't tell real time. 10:17 is not a real time because you never have to be anywhere at 10:18.
Right.
You know, you don't look at your watch and say, "Oh my God, it's 10:17. I have an appointment at 10:18." Now, quarter after is real time. 10:30 is a real time.
Yes.
But 10:17 is not a real time.
Not real time at all.
Unless, I can't think of any profession unless you drove a subway or something.
Driving a subway, or an airline or something like that.
No, that's again a fallacy. Did you ever find a plane that came at 10:17 that was ready to leave? See, I think even 10:30 is too specific for airplanes. I think that they should say 10-ish.
Who is to argue? Who is to argue? And what about calculators? You have in the same chapter a hatred?
Hatred.
Hatred for calculators, little pocket calculators.
For the same reason, it took me a commensurate amount of time to learn how to do long division. And I resent children. You see little tiny children, dividing 100 million zillion by 14. Instantly giving you the answer.
Yes.
They shouldn't be able to do that.
What will
No
happen?
one should be able to do that, let alone a child.
No one should be able to do that.
No.
But then they wouldn't be able to build those airplanes properly so that they could leave 10-ish.
No, they had airplane trouble before that. They built them before that, too.
Before that, too,
No,
it's true.
I think it instills a terrible confidence in children. That they can do this incredible mathematical
Yes.
equation. And I think eventually it might result in children taking over the world, in which case all the furniture would be too small.
It is a really frightening observation that you make. You also end your book with a stinging commentary on the news, the bringers thereof, and what's contained on television and radio news. Although you don't mind radio news too much.
No, of all news, I prefer radio news because it's the only time the disc jockey's not allowed to talk.
Yes, that's a reasonable satisfaction. But why don't you like television news, since everybody seems to?
It's not just TV. I don't like newspapers either. I don't like news. It's not TV news that I don't like. It never tells you anything important.
It doesn't?
No, I figure if something really important happened, my mother would call. And news is never about the things people want to know about. I mean, it's again my theory that people only are interested in the things really around them, so that if the news was about yourself, you'd be interested. But since that doesn't happen to me. If I was Jimmy Carter, I would love the news.
Yes.
Because it would always be about me.
You would like a personalized newscast
Yes.
as well, if you could
I
get
think
it.
I think in all state and city lotteries, the prize, instead of being money, of which they take 90% away for taxes, they should give you, Walter Cronkite gives you one newscast for yourself. He says, "Good evening, Paul," and then he tells you what's going to happen tomorrow in your life.
In your life.
Right.
Fabulous. Well, now you worked for Andy Warhol's publication.
I still do.
Still do. That's sort of his theory, that among
But
his
with him, it really
several,
happened, you say.
Yeah, no, but that everybody would be a famous person or a TV star or subject of the news or whatever for 15 minutes, and that's what
That's
kind
true.
of like...
Andy said everyone will, in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes, except Andy, who will be famous for 45 years.
45.
Because he excluded himself from this, he continues to remain famous.
Right. Fran, if this book is largely about things that really tee you off, what thrills you? What do you enjoy about the world as you see it?
Smoking.
Smoking cigarettes.
Cigarettes. Yes, smoking,
Cigarettes.
Smoking cigarettes.
Hmm? What else?
Sleeping.
There's a whole chapter in here about...
Well, I think kind of
Sleeping.
the motif of this book is sleeping. You know, I agree with Mr. Bean that I would love to not work. You know, I do
Love
not
to do
understand.
what?
I would love to not work. I do not understand people who do not know what to do in their retirement. I would know. I've been training for my retirement since I was 6.
Since
You
you
know,
were
I'm
6.
all ready to fill my leisure hours if I had them.
What happens if you fall in love and settle down and find something you want to do, like having children or stuff?
Terribly unlikely. I'm not considering that as a possibility.
Ah, but is it likely to happen to her, Mr. Mister?
Of course, maybe later this evening.